in this purport, there are two kinds of dharma that are mentioned. One directly mentioned is Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma, there are 9 processes. So the 9 processes are Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So these 9 processes include hearing about Krishna, Shravanam, Kirtanam, chanting about Krishna, and when there's Shravanam, Kirtanam, the next is Vishnu Smaranam. So, Pada Sevanam, doing some service for the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. And then Archanam is the deity worship. We worship the Lord in his Pratima form, in his Archana Murti. Archanam, Vandanam, offering prayers to the Lord. So these can be notable prayers by great devotees, and these can be heartfelt prayers. Vandanam, Sakyam, so there's becoming a friend to the Lord. This is a very highly elevated way of worshiping the Lord after much advancement in Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. And so we have, this is surrendering everything to the Lord, just like Maharaj Ambarish. Everything he surrendered. He engaged in all the 9 processes of this devotional service. So this is called Bhagavata Dharma. Now anybody can engage in Bhagavata Dharma. It does not matter whether one is a child, man, woman, old man, whatever. Everybody can engage in Bhagavata Dharma. So there's no restriction for anybody in performing these processes. Shri Shri Radha Parthasarati Ki Jai. Shri Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gornatai Ki Jai. Shri Shri Lakshmi Narasimhabhyam Namo Namaha Shri Praladam Vande. So we just spoke about the 9 processes of devotional service, which are Bhagavata Dharma, and that there's no restriction whatsoever for anybody to engage in any of these processes, especially Shravanam and Kirtanam. And as we said, from Shravanam, Kirtanam automatically becomes Vishnoho Smaranam. Vishnu, Vishnoho. This is Shashti Vibhakti. So Vishnoho, that the remembrance of Lord Vishnu. So there's no restriction. Now the other kind of dharma is not directly mentioned, but the dharma is called the varnashram dharma. And we know that varnashram dharma is the other one because it is mentioned here that there should be brahmachari ashramas. Therefore, Prabhupada says, therefore, from the beginning of life, according to the Vedic system, therefore, from the beginning of life, the brahmacharya system is introduced so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5 years, one can practice modifying one's human activities so as to engage perfectly in devotional service. So, according to the varnashram system, everybody participates, but not in the same way. So, those within the varnashram system, they can, actually everybody, regarding Bhagavata Dharma, those who are not in the varnashram system are called antyajas. They are outside of the system. Brahmachari, the varnashram means 4 ashramas and 4 occupations or vrittis. So the ashramas are brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. And the 4 occupations of vrittis are Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmana. So, those who are Shudras, those who are mercantile persons, farmers, the productive class, those who are the warrior class, those who protect the people, they protect the society, and those who are the intelligent men in the society, the brahmanas. This is the varnashram system. And those who are outside of this system, they are called antyajas. These are mlechas, yavanas, kirata, hunandra, pulinda, pulkasha, abiraha, shumbaha, yavana, kasha, these and so forth. And so forth. There are so many other races. Interestingly enough, Andhra is mentioned in this list. Andhra, this is specifically Andhra Pradesh, those from the those from the area of Andhra Pradesh, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the point is that not everybody is within the varnashram system. But the varnashram system exists in order to help people more easily come to the point of becoming steady in Bhagavata Dharma. So the brahmachari life is for who? Who is for the brahmachari life? So within the varnashram system, first of all, only boys are allowed to become brahmacharis. And then and among boys, only those who are among the 3 higher classes, the 3 varnas, that's the Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmanas, may become brahmacharis. Shudras, they do not become brahmachari, because for the Shudras, they only have capacity for working and service to others. Therefore, there's no need for them. There's no need for them to take. So it may seem that the system is unfair, but it is not actually, because even within this system, even for the Shudra, that the education is in actually following the example of the Brahmanas, the Sadachar. Actually everybody, whether Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, follows Sadachar. So what is Sadachar? Krishna says in Gita, Yad yad acharati shreshtas, Yad yad acharati shreshtas, tat tat evetaro janaha, sayat pramanam kurute, lokastad anuvartate. So whatever great men do, common men follow. And whatever standards they set by their exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So Krishna says, sayat pramanam kurute, that pramanam, so whatever they do, that whatever these great people do, that becomes praman. So that praman is called sadachar. So according to Vedic epistemology, which is a fancy word for saying way of knowing things, the means by which one can know, understand what an object is, you have the Vedas, Vedo kilo dharma mulam, smriti shele, and then you have the Sadachar. This is called the Sadachar. Shruti smriti sadacharaha swasya tad Shruti smriti sadacharaha swasya tad priyamatmanaha samyak sankalpa jaha sankalpa jaha. I'm not remembering totally these shlokas, but these are 2 shlokas from Manu Smriti and Yajnavalkya Smriti. So 4 things are given. The actually 5, but 4 are common to both the Shastras. First is the Vedas. Then there is the Smriti. The Smriti is from people who know the Shruti. So they remember things. So we have the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, we have the Dharma Shastras like Manusmriti and so forth. So what they have done by presenting the Smriti, they have made Dharma easy for everybody to understand, because Vedas are very difficult to understand. You need to be very, very qualified. And so, even for people who cannot understand even this much, it was very difficult even to read. I cannot read, or it's very difficult for me to understand because I'm just not inclined. Then you have the Brahmanas. You have the Bhagavatas. So there's 2 things. You have the book Bhagavata, like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and then you have the person Bhagavata. So by these 2 Bhagavatas, the whole world is delivered. So the Shudras enjoined, you follow what the Brahmanas do. You follow what the Sajjana, what the sadhus do, and then you will understand properly. Sayat pramanam kurute. Kurute, that's vidiling. That means you must do, you have to do. So this sarachar, after Shruti Smriti comes the sarachar, and then swasya cha priyamatmanaha. And then whatever the acharya, whatever the brahmana, the acharya, the sajjana, the learned person understands, whatever he chooses, he prefers, then we also follow that. Just like, for example, many things, like there's no specific injunction for, you'll find in many sampradayas different ways of honoring prasad, accepting prasad, bowing down before the deity, bowing down before the guru and acharya, and respecting other devotees. You'll find many differences. Or just like in marriage, for example, there are many differences between marriages in the rituals in South India and North India, right? So this comes from sadachar. It's not in the Shastra, but it's still passed down. It's accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest, and this is passed down generation to generation. But because it's accepted by these people, this is also Vedic Praman. In other words, because it's Vedic Praman, there is no fault in it. There are 4 faults in everybody's understanding. Those 4 faults are Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, Kardanapatava. So, Brahma is that you see something, or you hear something, you perceive something, but you think it is something other than what it is. Pramada is just like Brahma. Just like, for example, I might see something at a distance. It's tall. It could be a man. It could be a pillar. I don't know what. And if it's a man, but I think it's a pillar, then I've made a mistake. That's Brahma. The second fault is called Pramada. This is the fallacy of distraction. Just like we may be thinking of something, and then all of a sudden by a music where our mind is distracted, and because it's distracted, we also commit some fault. Then Vipralipsa. This is the fault of cheating. So cheating means that we may have some knowledge, and it might benefit our disciples, and it might benefit somebody, but we decide that we're going to keep it to ourselves. Or we might say something that misleads them, or to think something is other than what it is. This is called Vipralipsa, cheating. And then the other propensity is Kardanapatava. So Kardanapatava means that our senses become dull. The sound is there, but due to old age we cannot hear, due to old age we cannot see, or maybe we're born blind, whatever, like that. This is Kardanapatava. So all knowledge that's manufactured by humankind has these 4 faults. This is why that you cannot simply go to the secular college and understand how, what is proper behavior and what is improper behavior. It is not possible. So just like now, the intelligent class of people in society, Prabhupada is mentioning that they've manufactured some idea that it is good for society if women kill the babies in their womb so that to prevent overpopulation. Okay? So this is an example. You cannot get right knowledge the way that from the secular universities, especially in matters such as morals, ethics, what is right to do, what is proper behavior, what is improper behavior. You cannot get that here. You can only get this from the Vedic civilization. You can only get this. So the utility of this varnashram system, although it is not Bhagavata Dharma, it prepares one for Bhagavata Dharma. And because it is given by the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, through his scriptures and through various great sages and munis and brahmanas, it is also perfect. So why do we need this? Why don't we only engage in Bhagavad Dharma? Because not everybody is able to engage in Bhagavad Dharma. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, 12th chapter, 8th shloka, Mayeva mana aratsva, Mai buddham niveshaya, nivasishyasya mayeva, ata urdvam na samshayaha. Krishna first says, always engage your mind in me, always think of me, and in this way you will surely come to me without doubt. No doubt. But, ata chittam samadatum, nashaknoti maistiram. If you cannot fix your mind on me steadily, then what do? Abhyasa yogina tato, mam ichaptum dhananjaya. So, abhyasa yogena, by the practice of yoga, that by the practice of yoga, you develop mam ichaptum, that you develop a desire to attain Krishna. So, this abhyasa, so this yoga abhyasa, this is the varnashrama dharma comes within this. Why does the varnashrama come within this? 6th chapter, 1st shloka. Anybody remember that? Sri Bhagavan uvacha anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotyaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. So, the very first chapter, the chapter, the 6th chapter, in which Krishna begins his discourse on Ashtanga Yoga, the eightfold yoga system, which is, parts of it are very popular. The asana aspect is very popular all over the world now. And it's also good for health, there's no doubt about it. But, karyam karma karoti, so prescribed duties, karyam, karma. So you have to do your prescribed duties. So the very first rung of the yoga ladder is performing prescribed duties. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. So those who actually perform their prescribed duties and perform their duties, they're the true sannyasis and true yogis, not those who don't. So, on the platform of yoga abhyasaha, it is necessary to actually follow the varnashram system. So, but for those who cannot even follow the varnashram system, for those who cannot follow the varnashram system, then some work for Krishna is prescribed. Abhyase pyasamartosi mat karma paramo. Abhyase pyasamartosi mat karma paramo bhava. Madartam karma kurvani, madartam karma, madartam. So it's for Krishna. Madartam karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. So you do some work for me. You do some work. And then you will surely come to the perfectional stage. In other words, by this work, one will eventually become qualified to perform yoga abhyas, and by yoga abhyas, one will eventually become qualified to actually think of Krishna always. Now, even in the case of people who cannot even do something for Krishna because, well, that's not my religion, or it's not my, I'm just not into Krishna, then some good work is prescribed. So, ataita dap yashaktosi kartamad yogamashrataha sarva karma palatyagam tataha kuru yatatmavan. So Krishna is now saying that if you cannot even work for me, then at least do some charitable work. At least give up the results of your activities. Now this is a very interesting point. Why, what is the utility of giving up the results of your activities? So the utility of giving up the results of your activities is, Krishna says in the next shloka, Shreyo hi jnanamabhyasad jnanat jnanam vishishyate. So jnanat karma palatyagat tyagaha tyagat chantir anantaram. So this is a nice shloka. You have the Panchama Vibhakti, in this, that Shreyo hi Jnanam abhyasat. So Shreyaha is better. Jnanam abhyasat, greater than practice of jnanabhyas. In other words, the cultivation of knowledge. Because if you can't give up the results of your activities, then at least cultivate knowledge. Okay? But better than the cultivate knowledge is meditation. And then better than meditation is giving up the results of one's activities. And the reason that one gives up the result is that, and the utility of giving up the results of activities is anantaram, shantir anantaram, that afterwards you get the shanti. So even for those who are interested in shanti, the recipe is here: give up the activities. Now the governments. Now there's a theory in government. This is coming from the Marxist theory that conflict in society, to ashanti, comes from difference in society. That you have rich men and poor men, and that because there's rich men and poor men, the poor men are unhappy, and therefore they create agitation and they kill the rich men to get the rich men's money and enjoy. This is the Marxist theory. So the problem with that is that we see that even rich men kill rich men to get their money and enjoy. So this is what Marx postulated, is that by making everybody equal, if you make sure that everybody has the same amount of money, then, or the same amount of things and same amount of opportunities, then everybody will be happy. But that is not the nature of the self. Because the self is eternal. No amount of material happiness will satisfy the self, but the self, under illusion of thinking he's matter, still tries to enjoy through matter, and therefore he always tries to acquire matter. Even in the communist society, we see there is competition for post of dictator. So therefore, these people are bewildered. They cannot. 4 defects. Remember the 4 defects of human conditioned life. Therefore, they're always bewildered. They do not know what is right, what is wrong. And so the money, but the shanti comes when you actually give up. Therefore, you engage in charity. Therefore, it is a mistake, actually, on the part of governments all over the world that they engage in what's called transfer programs. They call transfer policies, wealth transfer policies, where you take money, you give like a tax, you tax the rich and you give to the poor. And they think that by this way they'll make shanti, but that's not the way. That's the tyaga has to be taken on the part of the actual people. So therefore it is enjoined in the Shastras, that the persons themselves should actually give this up. Then they will attain the peace and the people will benefit if they need something. So the governments have to, so we have to advise the governments like this, that these wealth transfer programs are generally unproductive and they only create more trouble than they do. This is what our Shastras say. This is a vyavaharak. Our Shastras are not just for Bhagavatam class, but they're for actual application. And then, by implementing, these other dharmas, the varnashrama dharma, and even for those who are not in the advice given in the Shastra for those who are not in varnashrama dharma, by implementing this vice, it helps people come to the point of Bhagavata dharma. And everybody in every country in any situation can participate in the Bhagavat dharma, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So they both go hand in hand. There has to be some punyam, because even you chant Hare Krishna, if you chant Hare Krishna doing sinful activities, you will not make advancement. So even the Shravanam requires some following. So we encourage people to become pious in whatever way, either by doing some service for Krishna, engaging in yoga abhyas, or by just giving up the results of their activities, cultivating knowledge. All these things help people. They should not be given up. Krishna says that austerity, charity, and penance should not be given up because they purify even the great souls. Therefore, we encourage all the people in society to engage in some form of austerity, charity, and penance. And then from the very beginning of life, for those who are serious, and for those who should actually become the leaders of society, this is also a very important thing, is that the 3 higher varnas, these are the people who actually control society. The productive class, the kshatriya class, and the brahman class, they're the ones in charge of the society. This varnashram society is especially meant to help them become devotees. Because if they're devotees, then the rest of society will also follow them. Again, the principle, yad yadacharati shreshtash, tatat evataro janaha sayat pramanam kurute. So that is what this system is for. So you have the Bhagavat Dharma, and you have the Varnashram Dharma. And the Varnashram Dharma is meant to help people become steady on the platform of Bhagavat Dharma. So we have a few minutes left in the class. We'd like to ask if anybody has any questions or comments. Comments first. Some of our older devotees can say something. Question or comment? Give him the microphone, please.
हरे कृष्ण मतलब शूद्र ब्रह्मचारी क्यों नहीं बन सकता है? Shudra, why not Shudra become a brahmachari?
Shudras, it's not a good fit, because you see, a Shudra, you should be accepted according to the qualities. So Shudra is according to guna and karma. Okay? So if someone's actually qualified to accept the higher knowledge, then he should be given a chance. But many times we see in schools that the children, they continue to act like rascal. They create so many disturbances. And so for those children, it is better they not go to school and create disturbance, but do some work. The society needs people to do work also, and school is not for them. That's it. But if you're qualified, then you should be given but if you have some qualification, then you should be given some chance, then we can see. Is it okay? Is that your question? Okay. Other questions? Any doubts? Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
You told us about all the four faults and also how to become steady. But I could not understand that how to give up all these four faults and to become steady.
Okay, the four faults, the four defects are the Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, and Karnanatabhava. That means seeing something as thinking it is something other than it is, then being distracted, cheating, and having imperfect senses, that your senses are dull, you're imperfect. Those are the four defects. So the question is, how do you get perfect knowledge? First part. So the first part of perfect knowledge is to hear from the Shastras. Okay? So the Shastras have the special quality of being perfect. They do not have any defect because they come actually from Krishna. Okay? So Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadev Goswami this question. We're hearing the scriptures through our eyes and hearing through our ears, but these things are defective, these things are material, so how is it that we can get perfect knowledge through these imperfect means? And Shukadev Goswami's answer is that because Krishna gives that potency to the Shastra, that it has no defect. Just like, for example, Krishna gives us the potency to see and hear. Okay, he gives us that potency, is also given by Krishna, and therefore the Shastra is also given that potency. So we hear from the Shastras and from those who are learned in the Shastras, the Shrutis and the Smritis, like that. And then the Sadachar is really like, this is practical action, how that has been implemented. So all these are Vedic pramanas. And as Vedic pramanas, they are without fault. They have no defects. So that's the perfect knowledge. So the second part of your question is about being steady, yes? So about being steady, it's by yoga abhyas. Okay, first of all, you always think that you're enjoined to think of Krishna, and then by yoga abhyas, so by practice, constant practice, one comes to the platform. And again, if you can't even do yoga abhyas, and you do something for Krishna, okay? Because by thinking of Krishna, one gets purified. So it's kenapyupayena mana krishne niveshayat. So in this seventh canto, this Saptama Kanda of Bhagavatam starts off with the story of Shishupal, the Shishupala Vada, how Krishna killed Shishupal in the Rajasuya Yagya of Maharaj Yudhisthira. And instead, because he was blaspheming Krishna, he should have gone to hell, right? He should have gone to hell, but instead, he actually got mukti. So this is very wonderful, and right there on the spot, Maharaj Yudhisthira asked Narada Muni, how is this possible? And so then Narada Muni explains that you may be thinking of Krishna in envy, anger, hatred, what to speak of love, like the gopis, or family affection, like the Pandavas. If you think of Krishna, if you think of Krishna, it completely purifies you. You know, Kamsa, he was always fearful of Krishna, but because he was always thinking of Krishna, he became purified. So this is what just working for Krishna does. Working for Krishna at least gives you, it purifies your mind and it brings you to that stage. So abhyasa, yoga, is a conscious effort to think of Krishna, and so that's even quicker. And what to speak of always thinking of Krishna. So those are the ways you do. So those are the ways you become to that is how you become to the perfectional stage. Is that okay? And any further doubt about that?
A little doubt, like you said, I have heard from other senior devotees that in this Kali Yuga, in this age, we cannot think about the Lord in anger, fear, or other feelings or affections. The only method to think about the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be considered, we are the servant of Him.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
We have to think in terms of being servant of the servant to the Lord.
Of course we do. But we don't. But at the lower stages, we don't always think that. Highest stages that we're always thinking of that. Lower stages, we're not always thinking of that. And so at different stages in that, we have to follow the prescribed rules. Okay. So yoga abhyas, because Krishna says in Gita, ata chintam samadatum na shaknoti mayi stiram. Stiram means steadily, okay? Na shaknoti. Na shaknoti means you cannot think steadily, okay? So then Krishna says, for those who cannot think always of me all the time, you do yoga abhyas, okay? So that's yoga abhyas. That means to follow the 4 regulative principles, chant the 16 rounds of japa, do some service in the temple, help the devotees in the preaching. That's yoga abhyas. Not eating meat, fish, eggs, all those things, you know, and offering all your food to Krishna. That's yoga abhyas. Now again, if you cannot do yoga abhyas, then at least do something for Krishna. Then you come to the stage of yoga abhyas. Then from yoga abhyas, you come to the stage of always thinking of Krishna. Is that settled the doubt?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Doubts? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.